So this right here is a video on Ashes of Creation 1 year later. It is by Nice Gaming, I hope I said that correctly, and you will find a link to this in the top of the video description if I turn it into a React video, but I've been playing Ashes. I'm part of the alpha. I've been there since the first alpha, like the first stage of Alpha 1. There's even like a couple of videos of Ashes of Creation from, is it 4 years ago on my channel? 4 or 5 years? It's been a while, and I made some videos as well on Ashes. I think it's a really cool game, and I've been following the development quite a lot. I have not played Alpha 2 yet, even though I have access to it, so kind of want to get into Alpha 2 at some point. It's in a much better state now than it was when I played last, so let's check this video out, shall we?
It has been 1 year since the highly anticipated MMORPG Ashes of...
I also kind of want to say, not a brag or anything, but I was in the guild with Steven, Sharif from Ashes of Creation, in Arcade. So for me, Ashes is like, it has a really solid spot in like the games that I'm paying attention to, because I have way more of a personal connection to the game, I guess. And also, I've played Arcade for many thousands of hours, and Ashes of Creation was basically sparked from Arcade, but minus the pay-to-win aspect, I think, and also it's going to be a little bit different, but many of the game mechanics will be Arcade-ish, at least the way I see it so far. It's maybe lacking that whole naval combat that Arcade has, but the traveling system, the carriage system, and the PvP of the game as well is a little bit Arcade-inspired, let's just say.
The creation finally became playable. To say that a lot has happened over the last year of development for this project would be an understatement. It's fair to say that the developers at Intrepid Studios have accomplished a lot, but still have a long way to go. So hello gamers, it's Nice, and I hope everyone who didn't play Amazon Games AI Snoop Dogg game is having a nice day. Today we'll be taking a look at MMO Ashes of Creation 1 year later since its launch of Alpha 2 Phase 1 back in October of 2024. While we can't cover literally everything improved and added throughout the course of development thus far, I'll do my best to go back and highlight key things around the game and its community. If I miss anything that was significant or very important to you, please comment below and tell us, and make sure you're subscribed for more content as we're so close to that huge milestone of 20k subs. And before I get into any of this, no matter what your opinion is on Ashes of Creation, let's give a big shout out to Intrepid Studios who are developing this game. Any criticisms aside, whether, the game is for you or not, an MMO is tough to make and the MMORPG genre seems as bleak as ever. Thus, we should applaud that they are at least trying to accomplish something in this niche, especially with the current state of the gaming industry. There are truly only a few upcoming MMOs with promise to help us desperate MMORPG gamers find that special MMO home. And with that out the way, let's begin.
I'm also considering he didn't mention it here, and I'm not sure if he's going to mention it later in the video. He probably made this video before the news of New World shutting down, so with New World shutting down, or going into maintenance mode, or it's basically shutting down, let's not kid ourselves here, it's basically shutting down. The future of MMORPGs and the whole scene is even more bleak now, man. What games do we have? We have Final Fantasy, World of Warcraft, Guild Wars. There's probably quite a few games out there, but New World shutting down, that is hundreds of thousands of people looking for a new home. And Ashes of Creation could fill a massive space in the MMORPG scene. I'm really excited for a different take on what an MMO could be than the ones we already have.
Again.
Yo.
You
alright? Are you excited? You looking forward to it?
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, shit.
Ashes of Creation on October 25th, 2024, after years of open development live streams showcasing their game monthly, would finally open the portal to its world, known as Vera. Followers of the project like myself counted the days until the launch of Phase 1. Ashes of Creation's Alpha 2 is separated into 3 separate phases as seen on this roadmap here. Each phase of the roadmap had different goals and different content scheduled for each phase. Now, be mindful, all the features listed were just estimations, and as always in alpha development, subject to change. And subject to change will be a key disclaimer to remember if you're going to follow this game, because you see, while a lot has been
Here's the thing, a lot of people like to clown on Ashes for being in alpha for so long, but they made the decision to bring up alpha very, very early. And here's one of the things that I really want to applaud them on. Games like WoW, or companies like Blizzard, we are seeing even now in Classic WoW, a major lack of communication because they would rather work on things behind the scenes and follow their own plan. For Ashes, they gave you access to the game in the public really, really early, knowing that some people would be actively deterred by that, because they are looking at the game and taking it for what it currently is instead of what it could be. Alpha is exactly that. It is alpha. It is very early development. Things are changing massively, and for anybody who's been paying attention, from Alpha 1 Stage 1 to where we are now in Alpha 2, it's night and day difference. And then think about when we go into beta, and then the polishing before the launch. This game, Alpha 1 versus full launch, is not even going to be recognizable as the same game, almost. It is night and day difference. And for anybody who goes back and watches some early alpha gameplay of World of Warcraft in 2002, you will see that those 2 years between alpha World of Warcraft and launch of World of Warcraft, those 2 years of polishing made the game night and day difference. So Ashes as well could be very different on launch than it is in alpha, but even from alpha 1 to alpha 2 we are seeing so many good developments. And the point that I was trying to make is that, for example, Blizzard right now and Classic WoW, they are not communicating at all. They are just doing their thing in the shadows, letting them, they're asking us to let them cook in the kitchen, the proverbial kitchen of all the magic in the game development. Let them cook. For Ashes, they are giving you early access to early alpha and getting your feedback while the feedback is crucial to development. Instead of just cooking in the dark, they're giving you the access and the ability to give feedback early in development, which many companies don't do these days at all.
Delivered on and accomplished, a lot of original estimations and scheduled features are still missing. For example, story arcs, which were scheduled for Phase 2, still haven't been delivered on, even though they were shown on stream over 2.5 years ago, with at least one other story arc shown after that. However, we are still scheduled to receive our first story arc in November 2025 at the making of this video. And this will be a part of the Harbingers update, and this, funny enough, wasn't even one of the story arcs that they shown years ago. It's very easy to forget how MMO Ashes of Creation was on Alpha 2's launch day, especially compared to how it looks these days. I remember the hordes of people jogging in place, desynced as the service went live. Phase 1 was a phase focused on stability and performance, and the testing of performance was definitely needed. Some slight understandable jank and server performance aside, things weren't too bad, and I'll never forget seeing this world for the first time. The map, as big as it is now, launched with only the Riverlands biome. There was of course a small rough section of the desert on launch day too, if you want to count that, but we all know the desert wasn't real back then, right? There were even less races available to choose from than what we have now. While some core things like combat relatively feels the same today as it did back then, most of the archetypes have seen major changes since their first iterations. There was one starting zone here in the Riverlands, and today there is two. But something people often forget is that this Riverlands starting zone, this starting area didn't even have its alternate path known as Samaya's Hope. The team had to respond quickly to bugs and performance issues, and something to keep in mind was Phase 1 was weekends only. Can you guys, can you like literally remember that? Like, it was only on weekends. There were a few occasions where they let the players play like throughout the week, like towards the end of the phase, I think, but that's about it. We would see features come online that are like normal and standard to us today, but were actually new features back then, such as a sprint button on your mount, breathing underwater, and another key feature that we take for granted was added November 14th, 2024. A protection to low-level players, making them immune to PvP that they did not opt in for. Guards will also now attack flagged players. There was also a 1-minute spawn protection added. Now, these may seem
The
like
asthma
common
accords.
sense features that you should have on launch, but you know, the community voiced this feedback and unfortunately it was not implemented soon enough. However, these changes were implemented because Asmongold finally gave the game a try. And his first time trying would end up being his last because players stream sniped him and PK'd him over and over. Asmongold would actually end up reacting to my video on the matter and the video would reach 1 million views.
Oh,
Prompting
damn.
a quick response and fix just about 3 days or so later due to the backlash. This, however, was really the only major drama from Phase 1. Nostalgia can cause bias, but honestly, Phase 1 is remembered by many to be a good time. It was players' first time getting their hands on the game and the content was fresh and new, so you weren't really too focused on criticism, you know? Even though this is a work in progress alpha.
Something that I really liked, by the way, ever since Alpha 1 of patches is the mounts. I just think number one, the mount animations are cool, but also just the graphics on them. The way they've made their mounts ever since Alpha 1 has been insane. And I also love the graphics. Like, I like graphics, right? And visual graphics in the games. And it's not that the graphics have to be good. They just have to make sense to the game itself. So for example, in WoW, those graphics makes sense. Playing Minecraft, those graphics makes sense. Playing Terraria, those graphics makes sense. But I've been wanting an MMORPG that looks like this. It's why I really love the New World as well, even though the gameplay wasn't really my style. The graphics really was cool and made sense to that game. So Ashes of Creation has this insane graphics, and I mean, I would have to buy a new PC just to play Ashes, man, especially on high quality or high graphics. So yeah, but I like the graphics. The graphics are cool, the mounts are cool, animations are cool. There might have been too many particle effects for my liking, especially in Alpha 1. But having seen footage, like once again, I haven't played Alpha 2, at least not Stage 3. I think I played Stage 1, but I can't really confirm or deny. But I remember downloading again the patch and everything during one of the weekend testing phases. So I haven't played the final stage of Phase 2, but maybe there's less particle effects now. Based on the videos I'm watching, it seems like maybe there is, like, less effects all around. Casting and animations and spells.
But that launch of Phase 1 kind of gave us that new MMO launch day feeling. The phase would eventually end for the launch of Phase 2, which would start December 20th. This was a worrying decision because obviously the phase was scheduled to launch right during the holidays where a lot of staff would be expected to be away. However, the phase would launch as planned and there was a lot of new features. On Phase 2 launch day, we would receive 2 new races, the Valoon and the Dunir. We would also receive a new major POI in the form of the Befallen Forge dungeon. The dungeon was on par essentially with the likes of Carfin or Citadel of the Steel Bloom, the other major POIs of the time. And honestly, there are really only 3 major POIs we have are those 3 to this day, but the desert biome would also receive 3 new nodes, or what they're called now.
I'm really looking forward to Arcade, not Arcade, Ashes of Creation. I was gonna say, I was looking forward to Arcade as well, Arcade 2, or is it called Chronicles of Arcade now, or Arcade Chronicles or something? But based on what I've been seeing online, it seems like they're turning that more into an ARPG with an MMO element to it, so less MMORPG and more ARPG, but with the multiplayer element, which makes me slightly less excited for it, I'm not gonna lie. So Ashes of Creation is like the one big game that I'm really looking forward to, but it could take a while before it comes out. If I had to estimate anything, 2027 would be incredibly optimistic, but would also be really, really great. But we're looking possibly more at 2028, maybe even 2029. Which, like, I'm gonna keep hoping for 2027, and I think they kind of want to push for that themselves as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see 2027, but in that case, they really have to start doing some polishing, and they have to step on the gas pedal like crazy.
Settlements. but we didn't really receive major portions like that major desert expansion until January. Freeholds would finally come online this phase, but were quite a disappointment as they weren't even remotely close to what Intrepid showcased
Ooh.
in that great showcase back in June of 2023. Phase 2 would also see the introduction of the marketplace vendor, something that was
Yeah.
missing in Phase 1, which provided a great way for players to place things to sell. It was even more bare bones than it currently is today. I'm talking no search bar or nothing. Things would be quiet for a while, as aside from the new races and that marketplace vendor I just talked about, Phase 2 honestly just felt like Phase 1 at its launch, with not many huge differences immediately felt by players. There was even also a lot of drama with guilds and exploits or whatever happening over Christmas break, and it just wasn't really a good timing, honestly. There was, of course, bug fixes, which will be a constant, but nothing new to test or nothing really new in terms of gameplay loops, you know? January 1st would start the year with even more drama as the largest dedicated content creator for the project would depart, and not exactly quietly. The team at Intrepid Studios would return from Christmas break and continue doing almost daily patches, doing things like the mage rework, and some other archetypes would receive adjustments throughout the month. However, the big patch happened January 30th, which would add a huge expansion to the desert, and the archetypes would see their semi-major reworks. In February, long-time flagging issues with caravans were fixed and more pocket dungeons were added to the desert. In March, those Phoenix Sentinels you see protecting players around Ember Springs were added. However, this was perhaps the smallest feature added then. March had one of the largest updates. The long-awaited Rogue archetype was added March 27th,
Yeah.
along with Naval and the expansion of the Turquoise Sea/Tropics biome. This would be the third biome to be fleshed out. Settlement sieges would then be added. There was also the introduction of the relic system. We would finally see a new weapon type with the daggers as well. Ranger would see a slight rework and players received a deconstruction kit system. April would see a stat and diminishing return rework, and I remember this time because PvP and time to kill I think felt really great around here. We also got the gear tempering system. Not only that, but we saw the introduction of the Jundark biome. And at this point, the world was already feeling large. In May of 2025, Ashes of Creation began the unofficial release of Phase 2.5 due to the delay of Phase 3. This server saw EU and NA merge to battle on one server. And fun fact, this is when Ashes of Creation actually broke the record in Unreal Engine 5 for most players on a single server, you know, no sharding or anything like that. The Jundark would become a more fleshed out biome by receiving settlements and freeholds. This would really serve as the only major update of Phase 2.5 aside from minor additions, small changes, and bug fixes. Phase 3 would get delayed yet again, and you know, this is a pretty common theme, and Phase 2.5 would be abandoned and not receive further updates.
By the way, the quality of the water, man, and the mounts swimming in the water as well. This is great for somebody like me that just small things like this. It's in the details, you know?
And testing the new Anvils biome and first-time user experience of the new starting area located in the Anvils Mountains. This would all be done on the PTR. This was an interesting time as the live server was essentially dead, but PTR testing was quite frequent. It was the first time the experience of this alpha actually felt like strictly just testing, you know, just testing, not playing, but just testing. And not just playing another live service, if you will. Fast forward to August 26, 2025, and Phase 3 has officially started, which is the current and final alpha phase. Surely it's the...
Wait, why did it say Phase 1 then? Right there, it's Phase 3, but it says Phase 1. Bro... Okay, was that intentional? And is it like Phase 1 of anything else? That is the question here.
Final alpha phase. Phase 3's launch saw the introduction of the Pyre and Nakua races. meaning we only have the Renkai and the Tolnar left. And with my interview with Margaret that we did earlier this year, she confirmed that the Tolnar are definitely not coming this year, so maybe we see the Renkai. By the way, where the hell are the
Yo.
Renkai race? We saw them on the Fighter stream back in March of 2024 and still don't have them yet. But anyways, the hugest deal from the Phase 3 launch was probably the introduction of the Stage 4 settlements known as, well, they used to be known as nodes, but I guess I gotta keep calling them settlements. But yeah, we got the stage 4 settlements, meaning that we are now only missing one stage. At the start of the phase, we also saw the new dynamic lawless PvP zone system, which after a warning will flag an area for PvP. We saw the introduction of the crate system as well, and we got a new look at the biome called the anvils, of course. The new starting area was just simply amazing, but as myself and others critique, the biome itself was very far from ready as a new player experience. Intrepid, to be fair, warned it wasn't on par with the Riverlands, but the horrible mob density and just the lack of player direction after exiting that
Underwater
main cave
mounts?
frustrated a lot
Yo.
of players. It had such a great first time user experience, like in the cave as you quest throughout it, and then it's just done. And the place doesn't serve as a quest hub, like give you a reason to ever go back there, and everything you experience in the game is nothing like that area afterwards. So I don't know, it just kind of sucks. The launch of this phase also added new weapons though: the one-handed axe, the two-handed axe, the rapier, two-handed mace, and two-handed spear. Mount saw an update with improved overall function, including animations, controls, and refined summoning and dismounting animations, which, to be fair, look very, very cool. The game also finally introduced settlement vassalization, which has been missing. The developers also improved the mountain ranges on the Riverlands borders while also upgrading to Unreal Engine 5.6. Phase 3's launch was considered quite successful, with many new players trying the alpha for the first time as they are waiting for things to be more fleshed out. Phase 3 was also the beginning of servers being up 24/7 except for when down for updates. After some time into the phase, a questionable decision was made to drastically reduce gear drops from mobs. This was good as to empower crafters, but doing so after the phase had already started, after most of the hardcore players had already obtained gear via mob drops, was very interesting to say the least. I've personally enjoyed this phase a lot thus far, and although there's been some issues that have led to like less caravan PvP, less social friction, and such like that, the game continues to improve, even in some areas where players feel like it regressed in a sense.
I think reducing the gear drops from mobs to put more focus on crafting is a great change. It focuses more on the MMORPG element, and instead of just farming mobs, you are now actually communicating, it develops teamwork, right? And just, yeah, chatting with players, finding crafters, crafting your own stuff. Should be more focused on farming materials and then using materials to craft gear, if you ask me. And it's also an alpha, so to me it's like they should focus on making changes to make the game better for launch and not try to balance the alpha, right? So to his point here, he said that some of the hardcore people already had farmed mobs for a gear. I could not care less. It's an alpha, so let those people have farmed that gear and make changes that makes the game better for launch. Alphas are there to be broken, and then for the developers to fix that stuff so the game itself when it launches is not that broken. Right? It's an alpha. People play this alpha right now as if it's the actual game, and I feel like that's a major problem.
As far as like play this everyday kind of experience, or how frequently you find PvP, how frequently you get gear drops, all that other stuff, the game itself has progressed and we have gotten more content. Not saying it has enough, but we've gotten more. And I've had quite a fun adventure while leveling this phase and continue to look forward to what's next. Players are looking forward to the Harbinger's update, currently scheduled for November, and Intrepid is continuing to cook. It's been quiet the last couple of weeks at the time of this video, and that just kind of gives me more hope that they're really grinding, head down, really focused. So, there's that. There's also the most anticipated and final archetype releasing, the Summoner. When we look back a year ago, it's clear how much work Intrepid has done. Be mindful that in this video, once again, I did not cover every update, every fix, every bug, every, little small thing that they implemented, and every little instance of work put.
I'm really excited to try the Summoner class, man. I kinda wanna say that I will play Summoner in Ashes of Creation, but knowing myself, I'm going to default back and play an Archer. I did the same thing in Arcade. I played a, what is it called again? Stone Arrow and a Primeval, and some sort of other Archer as well at some point, but basically always the Archer class. In World of Warcraft, my first ever class was a Hunter that I leveled to 60, Classic WoW did it again, Hunter again. I always seem to start as a Hunter, man, a Hunter and an Archer, but Summoners to me are always interesting, and if made correctly, it could be a really fun class to play.
In towards Ashes of Creation, and this is not all to say Ashes is perfect. Ashes is not perfect. I am not going to white knight this. If you have been on my channel, I'm this MMO's biggest fan, but also its biggest critic. I criticize a lot of things, whether it be systems, decisions made, or whatever, but I also love the vision of this game and hope it delivers on it. I also wanted to recognize the growth shown after 1 year of development, and honestly, looking back on everything, I hope it gives you guys a new.
Yeah, like, I've been here since Alpha 1, and I have not played Alpha 2, but I might get back into it. If there's an update coming in November, that could be something that I would like to play and test out. And watching this video right now, it's clear that it's a wholly different game than when I played. Like, when I played, we had access to 2 zones. 2 zones, that's it. We did get a 3rd zone as well at some point, but yeah, really limited. The game was not as large as it seems here, and there's way more landscapes, way more environment, there's boats now, so like naval combat. Bro, this looks insane.
Found appreciation of the progress we've made thus far, as it really did for me doing the research for this video, going through literally every single patch note, rewatching basically every stream and such, So what does the future hold? I feel there is a long way to go, and it could still potentially be years out at the current cadence, assuming there aren't drastic cuts or changes in design/scope. However, even in alpha, still in development, the MMO has already shown it can be a fun, social sandbox experience and has a die-hard community around it. There are so many players that literally main this game, like this is their main MMO. And it's a really good time, especially if you have a good guild and a good group of friends to play. And by the way, if you are looking for a guild, join the Voices of Vera Discord and apply to the Syndicate Guild. And yeah, we'll love to have you. I look forward to continue covering more adventures in Vera, seeing if Intrepid ramps up the progress. If you liked the video, please click the like button as it helps others to find it. And if you haven't done so, now's a good time to subscribe as we get really close to that 20K goal. Thank you to all of our YouTube channel members that you see here on screen. Really appreciate you guys going the extra mile to show support. If you'd like to help support the channel, becoming a YouTube channel member is a great and consistent way to do so. I hope Intrepid lets us see more of this world. Thank you so much for watching. It's been nice.
That was a good video, by the way. Oh yeah, I'm gonna stop the video right there. That's that's a good outro, but I'm gonna stop the video right there, man. Yeah, that was a good video, by the way. Like I've been saying since the start here, for anybody who's tuning into the stream at the moment, I've been in Alpha 1 since... I've been playing Ashes of Creation since Alpha 1. I was in a guild with Steven in Arcade, so I have way more of a personal relationship to this game, I think. Let's pick some low levels and do my key. I'm not going to do any keys right now, bro. But like I was saying, I've been paying attention to Ashes since day 1. I've been in PTR, not PTR, in Alpha since Alpha 1. I don't think I started on day 1 of Alpha 1, but I was there since early Alpha 1. And yeah, I've been playing since Alpha 1. Alpha 1 was great. Lot more bare bones back then than what it is right now. And I think they're doing a good job here, because they're giving us access to Alpha and allowing people to give feedback early in the game while it's in Alpha. Which I am, I'm praising them for that at least, because Blizzard, the company behind the game that I'm currently playing, in Classic, they don't communicate. They're actively hiding, running away from communicating, and don't want feedback. So to me, it's just great to see a company do something else, actually communicate, have a weekly live stream, give you access to the alpha, and let you give feedback while feedback is important. Also, at the end of this video, like 2 minutes ago, my cat just jumped all over my setup, so that's why I freaked out a bit. I'm gonna go and see if he's okay, because I think he just had a nightmare or something, or someone banged the wall, like my neighbors or something, because he just went crazy. So I'm gonna be right back, but good video.